Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is a talk video, at least for now, because we are going to start covering Conquest, and we might spin this off into its own video series, but right now it will be under the talk video umbrella. Basic structure, we're going to cover the feats, the squads I'm using for those feats, or plan to use, because this is before Conquest starts, the Datadisks that I'm looking at, and then the Datacrons, which ones I'm targeting, and also which ones I think will be worth getting. The first element is feats, but before we get into the squads, I just want to emphasize some specific information because it does impact how I approach Conquest and how I think about these different squads. Some of this I did highlight in that methods Conquest video a little while ago, but that video was before a number of changes have happened to Conquest, specifically the Datacron node, so a little bit has changed, but the basic ideas are still valid. But what I do in Conquest is I prioritize progress. I don't go for the Datacron super early. I do that after I get through Sector 5. All I want to do is get to Sector 5 as quickly as possible, but also make as much progress on feats simultaneously. So that means I'm not prioritizing like a cheese. That all happens at the end of Conquest, if at all, because some cheesing squads mean you're intentionally failing a node, which to me is waste of energy. Now, it might be a very rapid way to accomplish a feat, but it may not be necessary if you're able to accomplish that feat as you go through the nodes themselves the first time through. These squads, I'm also not going to show every variant. There are going to be superior variants, but I change those as needed. It may not be shown in some of these presets, and also just prioritize new content. I always gear 11 every single marquee character. Like I don't spend. It's 3 stars, gear 11. That has been serving me well for a very long time, and I've always red graded. As quickly as we can, we are going to break down all of the global feats and sector feats and the squads that I'm going to be utilizing for them. We're not going to be covering all of the variants, but the basic ideas here. Now, I do have these titles, G for global, we have the sectors, and an abbreviation for some of the key feats that are part of it. Now, I'm primarily going to be using JMK, but if you don't have JMK, you can be using Padme. There are 501st with gas, and with these, I have Barris in here for defense up. And you can be swapping out Ki-Adi-Mundi or Gas himself into these squads to accomplish the armor shred. Now, I'm not going to do something like Clone Wars Chewie lead, because that is, especially for my roster where he's only at gear 12, that is not a guarantee of 3 stars. And I want to get 3 stars if I can. If I don't, it's not a big deal. But Clone Wars Chewie, that is an efficient and inefficient use of my resources. That is 20 energy that may not allow me to progress on a node, and I want to get through these nodes 1 sector every day through the first week. And I expect to finish the defense up feat without having to do a cheese. Like if your roster is not mature enough where you have to do a cheese, that's fine. But for me, defense up's not going to be a big deal. I should be able to do that through the normal course of play and be either done or nearly done with defense up and armor shred by the time I'm done with sector 1. If I find that I'm getting low on stamina, I'm going to switch over to the Mandos, where Bo-Katan lead does give defense up with that special ability she grants to everybody. That will allow me to make a little bit of progress again on some multiple levels of feats. Now, I will probably swap out Sabine for armor, so armor can also apply armor shred. We'll return to some of these global squads and feats in a moment. We'll just stick with Sector 1 and the other Sector 1, which will also touch on the final boss is going to be this droid squad where we can have BB-8 with the secret intel. I'll use this throughout the nodes to make sure that we get the secret intel building all the time, but Lobot himself also helps on defense up. So again, this is why I don't think a Clone Wars Chewie cheese is necessary, because I can potentially be touching on defense up every single node that I hit, while also making sure that I'm making progress on the other Sector 1 feats and global feats. The mini boss is with its Hermit Yoda surviving. I don't even have a preset for that. I probably have Jedis somewhere in here where we will use a Jedi squad for Hermit Yoda surviving, but with things that are that obvious, I'm not making presets for that. The other global feats we'll hit on when we get to Sector 3 because there's overlap there. For Sector 2, no attacker, Night Sisters are going to be fantastic. fantastic because you're hitting no attacker plus the plague feat with that squad. Starkiller is going to be your best option for the health steal up because you have Palpatine, Visas, and Juhani all providing health steal up, so that's going to make it very quick work. If you don't have Starkiller is a type of character that on a new account I would be prioritizing to get as quickly as possible, way before GL. So that is a project I would be recommending for all accounts if you don't have it yet. It's also very valuable for Conquest. So if you think about it, like, you want to be making as much progress as possible very early in the game. And a 4-character requirement character like Starkiller means you are very quickly upgrading your roster to perform highly for an event like Conquest, where a team like a Starkiller squad can be carrying you pretty deep into Conquest early on in your career playing this game, far sooner than you can be getting a GL. So if you have like CLS plus Starkiller, you're going to be very successful in the early game and make sure you're getting as much of those resources and working towards some of these Conquest characters. Next up, for the mini boss, Gas with the 501st to carry 5s, and then the final boss, I have a Jabba bounty hunter squad with Aura Singh and Cad Bane. Even though Aura Singh's not Hut Cartel, I'm expecting Jabba to carry it. If you don't have Jabba, Boss Lead is probably going to be fine, especially if you're able to pair it with the right data disk. Now, one of the things I didn't highlight so much up top, this is why you want to just make your progress through the sectors. Forget getting all of the stars or the feats, especially on some of these final bosses or mini bosses, because you're going to get better discs along the way. And you might not be able to get this feat in your first go around, but if you have caustic emissions, you pair that with boss, maybe even invasive endings, then maybe that's going to help you get this feat done. I'm hoping Jabba does it in the first go, but if it doesn't, no big deal. I'll refine it either during the second conquest or third conquest. With Sector 3, we're returning to some of the global feat squads that I've set up. We have JML with Yoda for the Foresight, and then also trying to do the Kelleran and Grogu feats and try and make as much progress during the Sector 3 period. I'll probably have to do a lot of work on that with the Datacron nodes at the end, but this will help me out a lot in Sector 3. You could also swap in Hermit Yoda and get double the Foresight. Then we have the global feat for STAP, and we have General Grievous here with the droids that will work towards the global feat and the Sector 3 droid kills. This one's going to be a little bit harder because we need STAP to get the 50 kills, but with the data discs, I'm hoping we can find some good discs to keep my 3-star Gear 11 STAP alive. And then when we round out Sector 3 with a few more squads, we're going to have Tuskens for Momentum. That's going to be the best version. We have Inquisitors for Purge. All these Purge feats are not a big deal, even if you don't have Third Sister or Grand Inquisitor. I was doing the Purge feats with low star Gear 11, whatever Inquisitors when they originally came about. This just makes it easier. Don't let that discourage you if you've ignored Inquisitors. Just get them geared up to at least Gear 8. Start working on these characters. And we have a variant with the Bad Batch for Foresight. This is also going to accomplish the global feat for the Galactic Republic. So as we get stamina lowering on some squads, we can swap them in. They're also a very strong counter to certain kinds of nodes that you might come across, like Ewoks or Jawas. Then just to touch upon it, we do have Boba Fett, Sign of Django, who can help out with momentum. I have a bounty hunter squad here to possibly utilize him. This is going to be if I find a node where the Tuskens aren't going to help me, or if I just need another option for stamina-based reasons. Boba Fett, not the ideal option. Tuskens should really handle it pretty quickly. Maybe Tuskens probably going to handle it in one attempt if you find the right squad to go up against. Actually, not one attempt. That's 1,000 momentum. I mean, potentially that's one attempt. For Sector 4, we've got Troopers with ability block, plus Scout Trooper is going to be able to stealth, Piet's going to be able to stealth. It's not going to be the best way of getting stealth, but you are going to make a little bit of progress there with this squad. But most of Sector 4, we have Rebels. I'm going to have Leia with Obi-Wan, R2, C-3PO. That's going to give us some more stealth plus ability block. But Trench is going to be one of our best stealth options, because Trench lead with Dooku, everyone but Jango Fett is going to go under stealth, and this will be pretty powerful. Then we'll also have another Trooper squad with Dark Trooper Moff Gideon, and he will also be used on the final boss. If you don't have Leia though, your rebel option, you can just use CLS, R2, C3PO. That'll be a variant, and we can see a version of that variant down here in Sector 5. But because of stamina reasons, I'm going to try and do it with Leia so that I can preserve some of the stamina when I hit Sector 5. Because a day is not always enough for recovery, depending on how deep you go. And with a GL, you can usually go pretty deep with stamina and still have a functional win. With Sector 5, first up we have a CLS squad with Chupio being the key piece for the blind and evasion down. R2 is only in here because of Sector 4 with the stealth, so that this is an option. But you can use C3PO here in Sector 5. That's going to be better for stamina reasons anyway. Then we also have the Inquisitors, and we have an Inquisitor variant here that's no tank. So we don't have Third Sister or Ninth Sister in here, so that we can both with the Rebel option or with the Inquisitors be working towards those no tank feats. Then we have an evasion down squad that also has Bane here for the mini boss feat, with Bast Lashan really being the evasion down provider here. Now I don't have Mando Bow, so I don't have anything for the final boss. I do expect to have Mando Bow by the end of this conquest, so this is actually something I could add. Now with the final bosses and the mini bosses, your best option is going to be one of the global feat teams, and that is going to be your droid squad. Grievous has traditionally been one of the more reliable teams to do that, and now it's going to help you work towards this global feat. The only other feats that we haven't talked about with the global feat, we have the challenge path. That's just using the challenge path. And then there's defeating 600 B1s. That, I haven't looked at it. We do know what some of the sector bosses are going to be. I'm assuming there's going to be a sector boss or a Datacron node that is going to accomplish that. Hopefully there's a Datacron node that we can work on those B1 battle droids. That's where I'll target it if I can. If not, it'll just, hopefully one of the bosses will handle it. These are the Datadisks that I'm going to be prioritizing to build these combos. Now, I want to have a survivability combo where we're going to have entrenched. That one's actually a lower priority one. This is just beginning with protection up. That's nice. That one I'll pass if I have better options. If I'm choosing between entrenched and something I want more, I'll pass on the entrenched, because I also want to pair it with fortified. I really like these fortifieds, which is starting the battle with a bunch of defense, and then when you are taking damage, you're gaining turn meter. That is going to be potentially how I want to have STAP not dying. Combine that with the protection shield, which whenever you get critically hit, you're going to recover protection, and then combine that with also a combo of voluntary vanguard and leader's resolve, where voluntary vanguard is going to place marked on the character, but leader's resolve is going to boost that leader with a bunch more stats to take that voluntary vanguard even better. This is also with the stars on the disc, we're not going to be able to combine all of these together, but we also don't know which ones we're going to get. Vitality, that's the last one, where this is gaining a bunch of max health. That is going to be a nice cron. Support damage, similar thing. We can pair that with vitality, add some power, but also the zealous ambition. Vitality will boost zealous ambition. That's why it's going to work nice there, where you get the additional max health. Added that to how that the offense is going to be based off of that max health. So that will just boost the offense overall. Pair that with power to boost the offense even more. And then looking at turn meter with a combo of quickening, which is going to give speed and an evasion bonus. And that is going to work very well with Convor's agility, which also has evasion and a turn meter gain. Then you could also add that with spirited speed, which is going to give turn meter based off of gaining buffs. But what I don't have mentioned here, we can add fortified to that depending on the star counts. Fortified is also giving speed whenever they're taking damage. So those should turn into some pretty effective combos. Now you could also do caustic emissions and invasive endings, but that to me, I'm only going to grab if I don't have one of these other options available. Again, the only one here is speed. Also keep in mind that fortified will work very well with speed. Datacrons, we are going to tier out into the must-haves, the solid ones, and nice. Now, not all of these are going to be relevant to everybody's account. That is why in magenta, I have highlighted the ones that I'm going to grab, because those are the ones relevant to my account. I don't have Rey, so some of these don't make sense for me. Now, Kelleran, Trench, Bane, Sidious, those are clear musts. If you are a player with GL Rey, then Holdo, I think, is going to be better than the Ray one. And if you took the Kit Fisto bullet for the squad, this is CG, giving you a little reward for having done that. That is definitely a good Datacron if you were to have done it. I would not go out of your way for it if you don't have the Kit Fisto. Kelleran one that's solid. Mace, I think, is sneaky good. We're going to spend some time talking about that. STAP is actually borderline in the must-have, but because that's much more of a expense to get him to 7 stars at this point, that is a little bit more of a reach for most players unless you're a whale. And then some of these nice ones, these are going to be contingent. They have their places. And if you happen to have the character, definitely worth going for. One piece of advice is to get crons ahead of time if you think it is possible that you can utilize that cron before it expires. And for me, that is Kelleran Beq. I should have him in about a month's time. He is currently a 6-star character for me. This is going to be powerful. The Padawan lessons stacks, that is going to boost everything that he's doing. That's going to be nice in Territory Wars and in Grand Arena. He's been a fantastic low-star Gear 11 character in Grand Arena, really boosting up a Qui-Gon squad. This is not a character you should be delaying, even if you can't utilize the Datacron. He, at 3 stars, is a major upgrade on what Qui-Gon is already doing. And this Datacron, with the additional protection, the true damage, and the stacks of Padawan lessons, there is major synergy between the kit and what Kelleran does, and what makes Kelleran good. Because his damage is based off of max protection. So this is a huge boost to the damage output of Kelleran Beq. Kelleran's best level 3 ability is going to be the additional offense and speed when an ally is defeated. At level 6, I would use the full health is full offense. There's a lot of recovery on that squad. I think that is going to be pretty useful. Even if when Qui-Gon dies, everyone's going to be maxed out on health, there's going to be opportunities for some major damage. Also, if you don't have Kelleran, that's a good level 6 ability just to put with your Qui-Gon. With the Trench Cron, this was a GL killer when we got it last time. We're going to have different level 6, level 3 abilities, so we might not get the same level of performance, but this is really powerful. If you have Trench, you're going to want him. If you have him and you don't have him at Relics, this is a reason to take him to Relics. This is a little bit like Kelleran's, where what this Cron does is make Trench better at what he already does. And these are the Crons that you want to be prioritizing when you're looking at what makes a good Cron or a bad Cron. The Crons that just supercharge, put on steroids, what a character already does well, those are the no-brainers. And here there is tactical supremacy, there's heal over time synergy, there is defense stacking, and whenever he uses a basic, he's going to be calling all allies with riposte, which at a minimum is going to be Dooku. With the level 3 abilities, I don't think there's no-brainers here. I think the first time each dark side ally is defeated is going to be the better one, because there's also an opportunity that you can revive characters. There's going to be additional offense and speed with how Watt's going to work with things. Some of these other ones, like maybe the protection up is going to be the best otherwise option here, but I don't care too much about these other ones, although the evasion one's not terrible. With level 6, you're going to want these separatist allies that are immune to daze. That is going to be the best one that synergizes with Trench. The other one that's very long here, this is the General Grievous one. This is what you're going to want with STAP, but we can talk more about that when we get to STAP's Cron. The rest of these you can forget about. The next and biggest no-brainer of all is Darth Bane's Cron. CG does this all the time. We get a new character, we get a excellent Datacron related to that character, and it is usually something that is going to benefit the players who get the character to Relics quickly. It is a gift to spenders. That's especially what we see with like STAP. Big thing here is he's going to get a summon of a Sith Trooper, which is going to aid in his survivability. There's going to be damage reduction, and then there's going to be a bunch of additional buffs on the character, along with getting Siphon whenever he's critically hit, and there's going to be some Essence of Dominance synergy. The level 3 ability I think depends on how you're going to use him. We might use him as his own lead. If we're using his own lead, then the offense and speed is going to be a good option. Otherwise, I don't think it matters too much. Maybe the protection up. And level 6 is straightforward. It's the top one. It's the long one. It's the max health damage on a debuff. Last must-have Cron that I can utilize for my roster is SIDIOUS. What's really nice about SIDIOUS is CG is giving us a cron that turns him into a solo artist. And if you went after Sith Eternal Emperor, you've got SIDIOUS at relics, and now we can get a really good use out of him in multiple game modes with this cron, where he's going to get a bunch of extra defense, health steal, max health, max protection, counter chance, speed, immune to daze and stun. He's going to self-cleanse at the start of his turn, which means he can't get ability blocked, reset cooldowns, which means we can just spam his AoE ability. And with his AoE ability, he's landing damage over times, and this is the big one. At the start of each enemy's turn, if they have 5 stacks of damage over time, they're instantly defeated. He's going to be crazy, and we're going to have a ton of fun with him. You got to get this cron if you have SIDIOUS, and if you don't have SIDIOUS, this is the type of cron that is worth considering because it's a one character investment. With the other ones, you got to build out a whole squad in order to utilize them. Can't really justify the use. This is a character that you can justify adding the resources to take to relics, because even after the cron expires, that just means you're a little bit closer to Sith Eternal Emperor. Now, at level 3, this might need some testing. Whenever dark side allies are dispelled, at the end of their turn, they gain potency up and tenacity up. That might be very good for this cron, as long as dark side allies includes himself, which I think it does. That means that potency up means he's landing those damage over times better, which should make him more effective. And then at level 6, you could do the first one, but I think whenever enemies are damaged at the start of the turn, Sith allies gain turn meter. With those dots, they're going to be taking damage, so SIDIOUS should be gaining that 2% turn meter pretty frequently with those dots, which is going to allow him to utilize his AoE ability much more frequently. So this is a cron where I do think we have some other options about. Next must have is HOLDO. This one I think is going to be super annoying. I'm going to really hate it, and it's why I put it a little bit above Ray, who also I think has a pretty solid cron. But if you're choosing between the two, you're only going to utilize one of them. It should be HOLDO, because this thing does a lot, and what it does is going to make this whole squad way more annoying to deal with. But really, it's going to be at the level 6 ability that is going to make all the resistance squads annoying, but HOLDO is going to synergize with that level 6 ability more than Ray, which is why I think it gives her the edge. Now with HOLDO, we have 100% max health and max protection, which is going to make them more survivable. Start of the encounter, they're going to all have foresight, including Swallow. Whenever she loses taunt, she's going to give them foresight. And then whenever a resistance ally or solo loses foresight, they gain 100% bonus protection, and that's stacking. And then while she has taunt, those allies are going to have critical avoidance, defense, penetration, and plus 100 speed, which means you really got to make sure that shock is on HOLDO, or you are going to be in a world of hurt. But the key thing here is the level 6 ability for the resistance allies, and this top one here where they have plus 100% tenacity. But the big thing is resistance allies can't be defeated until each of them has fallen below 100% health once. So you're going to have to do a bunch of work with Ray. You need to make sure that you trigger you need to make sure that you've done work on everybody to start. But the bigger thing is, it sounds like there's a problem, potentially a problem, where if you're coming in a second attempt and they're already below 100% health, you have to trigger it. So they may need to go back up to 100% health before they can trigger the condition to even be taken out. And with them, I think this evasion one is going to be what you want. You're going to see everybody reroll for the deflection stat. You're going to see all that foresight. They're going to be evading all the time, even though it's just accuracy up. That's going to be annoying, but the accuracy up is going to help negate that deflection. So hold is going to be a major pain. You know what? I think we're just going to do some of the other resistance characters right now. Finn, this one is whatever. It's not terrible. If you do have a relic resistance squad that includes a relic Zori and you're using Zori, no reason not to grab it. Pair it with a Zori squad. And then same deal. Level 6, add in the defeat condition. And then level 3, either do the evasion, do the protection up, or do the offense and speed. Ray also has a nice, it's basically she gets saved when she's defeated. She starts with health, protection, and she takes a bonus turn. That's going to be dangerous, but it's not fundamentally different than where the squad is now. It just means she gets another chance. That I think is a pain, but not a pain to the same degree as HOLDO is. The other one here is BB-8. We'll touch on BB-8 later, because this is more for, I think this is probably going to be a little bit better for droids than it is going to be for the resistance, but not necessarily the case. It's a low priority cron. The last must-have here is Kit Fisto, and he's got a great cron. So if you already have him at relics, congratulations. I would not bother taking him to relics if you don't have him, unlike Sidious, because Sidious at least working you towards something. It's not the case with Fisto, even though most of us probably have enough relic Galactic Republic Jedi to actually use this cron. Because the big thing that this cron is doing is there's going to be a health and protection equalization. So Kit Fisto and all allies with guard plus 100% accuracy and have their health and protection equalized at the start of each ally's turn. That's Geobrute Alpha. So Kit Fisto is going to have health steal, which is going to help in his survivability. He's giving guard to everybody so that health equalization, health and protection equalization is occurring. And then he's also going to give everybody retribution. And then with that retribution, whenever Kit Fisto attacks out a turn, he's recovering health and protection, which is then being equalized to everybody, keeping them alive. So what you want to do, probably with a Qui-Gon squad, you could also pair him with a Ki-Adi-Mundi or a Kelleran. But if you have Kelleran, then you're making a choice about which of these two. And I think I would lean towards Kelleran, but this Kit Fisto one is real good too. And whenever he uses his basic, he's going to dispel. That's always super powerful. I'd love to see it in a kit. It's nice to see here. Now with the level 6 ability, I think there's two options here. There's the first one where at 100% health, they have the extra offense. I don't know if they're going to need it because there's other conditions going on that are going to make them very powerful. But what I like is at the end of each turn, Jedi allies recover health and protection equal to 50% of the amount the enemies recover that turn. This, though, that might be a little bit more contingent, but because of the health equalization, that's just a situation that is going to make the squad even more survivable and a bit of a pain. That is more of a theory. I don't know if we're going to see it as much in practice, whereas the offense is just safe. In level 3, I think you have some options based on the makeup of the squad. Like you have Yoda, you're also throwing around tenacity up. You're going to have a bunch of evasion. The tenacity up could also shift into the debuff and recovery of health and protection. But I'm less concerned about the level 3 ability with Kit Fisto. Janet Calcestis is a solid cron, but definitely a tier below what we're just covering with those must-haves. The cron itself is just going to make him a lot more survivable. He's going to cleanse when he falls below a certain health threshold, recover, and then get a bonus turn. Those bonus turns are going to be very valuable towards getting off his insta-kill ability. But what I really want from him is the level 3 ability that is going to prevent revives. Because you use that in 3v3. Like I use Calcestis a lot in 3v3 because a Bastila lead with Calcestis is very viable up against Melgus. In 5v5, some of those Bastila leads don't work as well and you can be set up for a cleanup situation. Like you'll take out Melgus, but you might not take out everyone else. In 3v3 though, I use Cal to beat those Melgus Talon squads a lot, but you have to make sure that you take out Talon first. Now you don't have to take Talon out. With this anti-revive cron, you just take out Melgus and you're done. So that is a huge boost to what Cal is going to be contributing. At level 3, I don't care as much. I'll just take the offense and the speed when allies go down. If you're using some weaker versions of Jedi, that could potentially be triggered. And so under those circumstances, you'll just make Cal that much more of a problem. Or once you take out Melgus, if you lose somebody, then you can just make sure that the rest of it goes quick and clean. Now Mace really should be in the nice zone where this isn't a big deal to get this cron at all, but I'm going to want to pair it on a Star Killer squad. But really I want to talk more about the Jedi in general because the Jedi have a sneaky nice level 6 ability. Because at level 6, one of the things that we can do is this: whenever an enemy is defeated by a Jedi ally, that enemy can't be defeated. We've been using this with JMK and Cat on the Scoundrel Cron to take out Curzantin to negate a lot of what the Bosch Cron was doing. We can still do that, and I think getting this Jedi Cron is going to be very valuable. We can use it up against Jabba, we can use it up against Leia, and with Mace Windu, we can try to use it on Starkiller to try and negate a little bit of what the Rey and Holdo Crons are doing, and that really their level 6 ability with the revives. Now, it's pretty tough taking out anybody with Mace, but maybe with a level 9 ability, we get closer to that situation where Mace is able to finish somebody off. And if he can finish off a Rey or a Swallow, that would be a major boost. Now with Cam, we get a bunch more armor shred, and we get some exposes when he uses a basic on somebody with armor shred. So there's a little bit of synergy here. It's nice, but this is all, again, one where it's nice to have if you don't have the other ones. If you don't have Kelleran, you don't have Kit Fisto, then you can look at this for just a small boost. Which in 5v5 I don't really care about, but in a 3v3 context, it might be able to be pretty useful. STAP is whale food, but it's a nice cron. It adds a bunch of assists where you hit somebody with target lock, STAP assists. And then whenever he uses basic against a pinned enemy, he's gaining stacks of overcharge. And we just see that continued synergy. Same thing that we're seeing with the Trench cron or the Bane cron that makes these characters very powerful. Same deal here. He's also gaining turn meter whenever that happens. Now this, most of us are not going to be able to go after this cron unless you're a whale. And we already mentioned it, the first separatist ability, or not the first one, the second separatist ability here, this is the target lock synergy. That's what you're going to want to use with STAP. At level 3, I would just grab the dark side allies are defeated. You gain offense and speed. If things go bad, you're just going to make your General Grievous better and more dangerous. And we'll hit the final 2 Sith. I think this would be the last ones that we talk about. We've basically hit everyone except for Geo, Spy. Spy, if you have Spy, you have full relic. Geos, why not? I don't, so I don't really care. It's not a great cron, it's not a bad cron, it's solid enough. BB-8, it's kind of mediocre. It's adding a bunch of exposes and stuff. It's fine. It might be nice with Sortie. It's not going to be a difference maker. But Dooku, Sith Assassin. I prefer the Sith version where whenever he stuns, he gains the crit damage, stacking, and speed. That's going to be much more dangerous than him recovering protection. Protection recovery is fine, but the Trench one is way better. And I think the Sith version is good enough where if you don't have Trench, then just use him with Sith instead of using him with the Separatist, like with Newt Lead or something. But I'm assuming if you don't have Trench, that probably means you don't have a Separatist squad that can utilize Dooku. And if you do have Dooku at Relics, it's probably because of Sith Eternal Emperor, and you'll be able to utilize him with some Sith characters. At level 6, it's Ignore Taunt. That's going to be very valuable, especially with a character like Dooku with all these extra boosts. And at level 3, I'm taking the offense and speed with defeated allies. And the final one that we're going to cover is Sith Assassin. This one's not that great, but you can pair it with Melgus or you can pair it with Darth Revan, and you already have Sith Assassin at Relics if you have the Leviathan, so why not round out a squad with a level 9 grunt? It's just whenever Assassin gains stealth, you get a cooldown reduction. Not great, not terrible, but with everything else going on, it's going to make the squad better. What I would do is make sure you have level 6 crons for your Sith, because then you can utilize this one to ignore taunt, which is going to make them much more dangerous. Because it's not just the taunt, it's the max health damage, and Sith are going to lay down a lot of debuffs. And we will wrap it up there. We're going to try and do this moving forward, and we are going to release Queen Amidala's kit breakdown probably tomorrow. I've got a script already out for it. I felt like this was the bigger priority. Queen Amidala, we can grab a little bit of footage with the consumables that CG's probably going to be adding to the Conquest, so we can get a little first look as well. And then I'm hoping to also get out this week a LOSH Viable Teams on Jedi Knight Cal Kestis. I don't even remember if I thought that was a difficult event or not. But we'll put it together and just get it out. I want to get caught up on those. It's something I've been putting off. I'm a little swamped with work right now, but I think we need to give a little bit of love to the channel. So thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other, everybody. This is still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.